My story of survival. Very long read, sorry. Since I have started posting here, I figured it was time to tell my story to any who would listen. I hope it helps some of you currently going through the hell that is D-Day +1 to D-Day +3 years. In 2014, we had been together for a little over 8 years, married for 6. After supporting her through college to become a teacher, she went through a horrible first year, as teachers often do. I remember her saying she never wanted to teach again. I tried to convince her not to give up. After spending 6 years of school, she changed her major twice over one bad year. It turned into a gigantic fight, and finally, after years of supporting her, I lost my cool. Fine, give up on it then, but you have to work, we can't make it on one income. After a few months, she found a job paying well below what she made as a teacher. I thought this was behind us and that we were getting by just fine. Then my dad passed away. My dad and I had a strange relationship. My parents divorced when I was 12 and he was never really around, and when he was at the bar. Once he was diagnosed with heart failure, my dad began to try to reconnect with his family in his own strange way. But sadly, he had a time clock on his life at that point. My dad was taken off life support and was given hours. He hung on for 10 days. It was absolute misery. I was a complete wreck. When he passed, we began to learn the hard way just how bad he was with his finances. He left his kids a pile of debt to deal with. Naturally, you can assume I wasn't the most pleasant person to be around. I was struggling with the acid sandwich my dad left, and while I was angry at him, I was still grieving my father. If any of you have lost a loved one, you know how hard it can be. You are fine one moment, then out of nowhere you are a sack of tears. Fast forward a few years to the winter of 2017, a mutual friend and chair of our local NerdCon puts out on Facebook he's getting a divorce because his wife cheated on him. My ex happened to be in the neighborhood and stopped by to talk to him. Her story: I'm convinced this is when the cheating started. I found it a little strange she stayed there for 5 hours, but I am a trusting person and believed her account of them just talking. The months go by into the spring, and she is talking to him more and more. I am getting a bit bothered by it, and I express that her talking to him is starting to make me uncomfortable. This gets downplayed as me being paranoid. I had a right to be. She went behind my back to have a talk with an ex before we got married. She needed closure, she said. May the last weekend of April 2018, I am going on a business trip to Vancouver, BC. She tells me since she is home alone she hated being by herself. Often would have her mother come over and stay if I was away on weekends. Red flag? She is going to go out on a totally platonic date with this guy. I am not happy about it, knowing this guy is vulnerable and it's just not a good idea. She goes anyway. At the time, we had geolocate on our phones in an effort to curb text messaging while driving, so if either one was concerned, they could check the GPS tracker and see that we were on our way home. Her idea: red flag. Out of paranoia, I checked to see if she is home and she says yes. I check the tracker and notice she is still out with him. I tell her I know she is still out and to please go home as it is late. She gets pissed and doesn't talk to me the rest of the night. I try to work through the next day. She says she is again going over to his house. I am pissed at this point and implore her not to go over there, that this guy is vulnerable and I am worried he is going to make a pass at her. She blows me off and shuts off her GPS tracker. Sunday rolls around and I am on a flight home and she is suddenly all cutesy and acid. My alarm bells are going off like crazy in my head. Something is wrong. I get home late, had to bum a ride. She was supposed to pick me up and I find her on the couch asleep. A week of weirdness goes by and I am being gaslighted into feeling like I was being overly possessive and paranoid. I find out that weekend that she only kissed him after a long heartfelt conversation. And that she is feeling like our marriage isn't worth saving. I spent 2 days trying everything I can to fix things. Pick me dance. She made up her mind. She decides to take the dog for a walk, and out of a moment of ultimate paranoia, I log into her tablet and open her email. That's where I found the undying profession of love to this guy and how she wants to leave me. I am absolutely crushed. The room starts spinning and I completely lose it. I can't breathe. I call her and tell her that I know. She rushes home and I ask her flat out, do you want to be with him? I think I do. It is at this point I fly into an absolute rage. I tell her I can't be near her right now and need to leave. I go get a hotel room for the night. It is at this point she leaves and goes to his place to spend the night. Knowing she left the dog, I check out and go home to take care of our pup. Even though it was completely over, I lay out all our wedding photos, all the pictures of us from the last 11 years. All of it on the kitchen table. She comes home and I make her sit and look at the pictures. Don't give up on this, don't give up on us. Please do not throw away 11 years for someone you hardly know. What she said in response is something that took me years to get over. You are ducked up, OM has his it together. I need time to decide. And she leaves. I sit there, crushed. Knowing it's all over. I notice she left her tablet on the counter, logged in. Temptation got the better of me and I opened her messaging app. I am waiting for you in bed, to him. I knew at that point it was over. I flew into a rage, smashed the wedding photo on the wall. Called her and told her to come get her it will be ready for her when she comes by to pick it up. My brother, bless him, I owe him my life, helps me stack up all her on the front porch to pick up. Now, I know I could have handled it better. Hindsight is 20/20, but the woman that I adored, made sacrifices for, did everything could do to keep her happy, had just shacked up with another man. She immediately moves in with him, changes her cell phone plan from mine to his the same day, and this jackass goes to the convention that I was part of the staff for and proclaims his love and that if anybody doesn't support them, they are kicked out. I am naturally banned from the convention. So not only did I lose my wife, I also lost my tribe I thought that had my back. The convention goes off 4 weeks later, she is fully moved in with him at that point, and plasters pictures all over Facebook hanging all over him. Meanwhile, while she is off on trips and flaunting her new relationship, I am pulling favors from family and what little friends I have left to move things out of our house and get out before the lease ends. Any time I demanded help she had some excuse. To make matters worse, even work wasn't safe. She started a new job the week she cheated at the same place I was working IT help desk lead. Over the course of that summer I lost a ton of weight. I began smoking a pack a day, barely eating. While I spent my birthday alone, she was off showing her new man to her family, who dropped me like a bad habit and welcomed him with open arms. I sadly fell into the pick me trap and tried several times during that summer to reason with her. To implore her to get out of that relationship and set out on her own. It was then she explained to me how she fell out of love with you after your dad died. I know you were grieving, but I had needs too. You stopped paying attention to me. During one of the last times I spoke to her, she tried coming on to me and I stopped it. I got angry and told her that this is not the ducking notebook and to grow the duck up. As a final duck she decides to take the OM on a trip that we had planned together to Ireland and England, the place where my family came from in the 1900s. At this point I had blocked her and anyone associated with her on social media, so thankfully I didn't see the trip plastered all over the place. Shortly after that, I finalized the divorce paperwork on my own and it was done. I haven't spoken to her in person since. 1 or 2 emails to settle some accounts. But other than that, she uses her parents as a proxy if there is something she needs. I exercise no contact with her and anyone associated with her. Sadly, that meant many friends who took her side or felt remaining in the convention was far more important than keeping a friendship with me. Throughout this entire ordeal, I found a fantastic therapist. He helped me realize that none of this was normal, and I was trying to react the best way I could in an extremely ducked up situation. His words. I learned through therapy and explaining what happened that there was nothing I could have done to prevent it. And all her excuses were baseless and not a justification for infidelity. I learned all in all, I have good coping skills, and I did the best I could have given the circumstances. I began working on being a better person and trying to let go of all of this horrible, awful acid. Taking time for self-reflection, self-care, etc. I remember the last thing he said to me before I stopped seeing him. There is nothing I have left to teach you. Go forth and conquer life, my man. You've got this. First step I made for myself was getting out of that work environment. Seeing her constantly and working in the same office as her and several of her friends was torture. It was hard because I had invested so much of my life and energy into that job. I landed a great job back in my hometown. I work for a school district. I love being around the kids. I feel a sense of purpose I think I needed. I have my good days and bad. Sometimes I will hear things about her and her life and it upsets me. But it doesn't floor me like it used to. I learned she married the guy this summer. About 3 months he divorced his wife. Took him 3 years to divorce his ex, but was living with another woman. From what I gather, she is incredibly skinny, looks tired all the time, and doesn't go anywhere without his permission. The hardest things for me still is that I had no way to house our dog in the divorce, so she got her. I miss that dog. A few times she tried using the dog as an excuse to see me, to gaslight me. It was a painful decision, but I had to end that too. Thankfully, the year of hell known as 2018 had a silver lining. I got a puppy. She is 2 now and is the best dog I have ever had. Currently sleeping on my foot as I type this. The other is that we never had kids. I know now it's a mercy. She never wanted to have kids because it would ruin her body. But my biggest dream was to be a father. I am still single and probably will be for a while, thanks COVID, you dick. I am pushing 40 now and I am doubting that will ever be a reality for me, but the future isn't written, so I can hope. Since leaving the rubble of the life we built together, I got to reconnect with my family. My relationship with them has never been stronger. My mom commented that she got her son back. I began saving for the first time in my life, since I am no longer working for another person to spend my money. I have very fulfilling hobbies that I would have had to make a federal case for before. I finally learned to love myself again after so many years of feeling like I was the reason our marriage fell apart. I know my truth. I was a good husband, flawed, sure, but supportive, kind, and not the monster she made me out to be. D-Day plus 3 years is coming up this April. I can't believe how far I have come since then. I still have bad days. It still hurts sometimes, but that's grief. Grief never goes away. You don't get over it, you simply learn to manage it. If you have made it this far, thank you for reading my story. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, it still hurts sometimes, but that's grief. Grief never goes away. You don't get over it, you simply learn to manage it. No. It goes away. You will never even think of that grief again. It takes time. It took me 7+ years. Now I have crossed 11 years. I sometimes think of it, but I am no more sad. In fact, I am thankful to my ex-GF. It is because of her I was able to be what I am today. So don't worry, you will soon be healed from that grief. Very soon you will find that is just a thought and you will not even care about it. Redditor 2, from what I gather, she is incredibly skinny, looks tired all the time, and doesn't go anywhere without his permission. He knows he can't trust her, but cheaters will always find a way. Redditor 3, your ex sounds like a narcissistic, self-absorbed level 10 jerk. You are definitely better off without her. Once you feel like dating again, that should help you shake off the remainder of your divorce and experience. It always seems to help others when they find someone new and normal that actually loves them. Good luck, and be extremely glad you didn't have kids with this person. Redditor 4, well done op, you changed and took back control over your life for the better. Keep it up and I hope you meet someone else and get the chance to start a family someday. Wish you all the best.